ॐ निरञ्जनं नित्यं अनन्तरूपं भक्तानुकम्पाधृतविग्रहं वै ईशावतारं परमेशमिड्यं तं रामकृष्णं शिरसा नमामः. Namaste and welcome to our guided meditation sessions on Saturday mornings. As usual, we will begin the session with guided meditation. So please sit upright, keeping your back, neck and head in a relaxed upright position. Your posture should be relaxed and steady. Direct your attention to various limbs of your body, and as you visualize them, feel that each part is healthy, pure, and filled with the divine light of holiness. Focus your mind on your feet, ankles, calf, knees, thighs, back, stomach, chest, shoulders, arms, elbows, hands, neck, face, head, and the whole body is strong, healthy, pure, filled with the divine light of holiness and purity. Now focus on your breath. Breathe in a deep, rhythmic manner, inhaling and exhaling to the maximum. And while inhaling and exhaling, visualize that you are breathing in a light of consciousness and purity. It fills every cell of your body, every corner of your mind with its effulgence. You may repeat the sound, the mantra Om, as you breathe in. Breathe in and out in this way thrice. Now let us pray for the welfare of all beings. Let us pray to that cosmic consciousness out of which this whole universe and all living beings have come, by which it is sustained and into which we will all return. Let us pray to the Divine to grant us that purity of mind, so that the inner effulgence of knowledge, beauty, peace, bliss, and all divine qualities shine in their grandeur in our hearts. May there be peace in the heart of all beings. May all be happy and joyful. Send out your prayers to your right. See your thoughts going out forever, touching and uplifting all those who need. To the left, in front, behind, above, below, and in all directions. With you as the center, radiating your beautiful prayers for the welfare of all. Now withdraw your mind from the outside world and focus on to yourself. Visualize your physical body strong and healthy and pure, pervaded by this divine light. Visualize that surrounding your body and interpenetrating it is your mental body, which is finer and subtler, the abode of all thoughts and ideas. Visualize that pervading both these two bodies as an even finer body, the body of knowledge, which is penetrating the two bodies and is enveloping it. That's the body of pure knowledge, intelligence. And pervading all these three is that ocean of consciousness, infinite, eternal, infinite existence, infinite knowledge, infinite bliss, infinite purity, beauty, and all divine excellences. We are all bubbles out of that ocean of consciousness. That consciousness has materialized, so to say, in the causal body, as the subtle body, and the gross body. In that causal body, visualize a beautiful lotus, fully bloomed, full of fragrance and freshness. In that center of that lotus, visualize a steady flame, radiating its effulgence in all directions, nourishing and charging the three bodies. You may replace that flame with any divine form of your choice, and visualize that the radiance coming from that source is the light of knowledge that dispels the darkness of ignorance. It is the light of bliss that fills you through and through with joy and happiness. It is the light of supreme peace that fills you with serenity and tranquility. It is the light of beauty and purity that fills you with holiness. It is a source of strength that strengthens you spiritually, morally, emotionally, intellectually, and physically. Visualize the divine presence as a living presence, eager to bestow all wonderful spiritual qualities, full of grace, full of love. That is our higher self. Feel the presence of the divine within you, its warmth, its protection, its purity and holiness, and direct your whole mind to the divine presence. Repeat the mantra that you have been given by a spiritual teacher, or the Gayatri mantra, or Om, or if you wish, Om Namo Bhagavate Ramakrishnaya Namah. Keep your whole mind occupied with the divine presence and with the repetition of the mantra, paying particular attention to the process of repetition, making sure that at the end of the mantra, the next repetition starts. In this way, let us meditate for 5 minutes. Asato ma sadgamaya Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya Mrityorma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tassat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. In this way, as you meditate regularly, you will discover that your power of introspection will gradually increase. The power of reflection, the reflective power, which is called the buddhi, intelligence. That is that observer of your internal thoughts that helps you in your everyday decision making, so to say. When there is great control and clarity, you will find that the cobwebs in your mind becomes fewer and fewer, and you are making better choices, better decisions. A stronger willpower is there, because this faculty, the buddhi, which is finer than the mind, which is part of that causal body, which is the source of intelligence, dhi. When that awakens, then that finer controls the grosser mind and is able to watch what type of thoughts are coming into this sphere of your mind. And you can make a decision and say, I'm going to check this, not let this take expression. But if that buddhi is not awake and alert, just like in the example of a human being, in the analogy given in the Kathopanishad, the physical body is the chariot, which the senses are the horses, the mind is the reins, and the sarathi, the charioteer, is the buddhi. When that buddhi is awake and alert and strong and firmly holds and controls the ropes, then the horses are brought under control. So we want to awaken this sarathi inside us, this buddhi. And if you meditate regularly, you will find that power of internal observation, the reflective power of the mind, that becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. And a thought which might be at its very budding stage, it could be something that's unpleasant, but you'll pick it up very early and you can nip it in the bud. You have that power within you. So meditation, apart from having its spiritual benefits, will empower you in this way to have greater control of your mind, emotions, and to check yourself, restrain yourself. That willpower will come. Just like the sarathi is able to restrain the senses, the horses, and direct them to the direct place where it wants to go. Likewise, we can direct the mind towards spiritual goal and restrain it going into the worldly goal. So, we talked about this eternal infinite Atman, which is there right now, here and now in all of us. But we are not fully aware of it. When we say I, somehow the idea of the body comes, the idea of the mind comes, the idea of myself as an individual comes. I don't get that full blast of that awareness that I am that infinite eternal Atman, which is my true self. This state is called ignorance, where the pure I self, which is a reflection of the pure consciousness in this body-mind complex, has become encapsulated, trapped, embodied into this mechanism, which is an organic thing, which is a mental thing, and somehow it thinks it is different from the rest, different from the Atman. Some even don't say there is an Atman. This is all that there it is. It has come from somewhere, we do not know. Where it's going, we do not know. But we are here, and the purpose of life is to just enjoy, live and die. They don't seek any further. Those who are more awakened, so to say, who can reason, they understand that this cannot be the be and all of it. And the spiritual teachers tell us that beyond this body-mind complex is the real Atman, which is our true higher self. So, meditation is the process by which we try to go beyond the mind by transforming this mind itself into an instrument. So when this mind itself is the instrument, but it has to be transformed and purified so that it can become finer and finer and finer. Just like the microscope, looking through power of 10 magnification, 100 magnification, 1000 times magnification, reveals the greater and greater details of the specimen or whatever we're looking at. Likewise, as the concentration of this mind increases, then the mental power becomes more and more focused, and the intensity increases, and you can zoom into your true nature, so to say, while the body idea will drift away, the mind idea will drift away, and you come face to face with what we are. So this mind, it's our best friend and our worst enemy, so to say. And a lot of spiritual discipline goes in cultivating this mind so that it is calm, it is peaceful, and it is spiritually oriented, not worldly oriented, not running after external enjoyments, but trying to seek the core of what we really are. So we were discussing these first two steps of the 8 stages or 8 limbs of yoga according to Patanjali, Maharishi Patanjali. The first two are Yama and Niyama, restraints and observances, things which we should not do. Why? Because these are not spiritually conducive to us. They might be nice and pleasant for giving you some temporary enjoyment, but from the ultimate goal of spiritual enlightenment, these are harmful to us. That's why we will not go down that path. On the other side, we will do certain things which are spiritually conducive to us because they help in the purification of mind, and as the mind becomes pure, the greater light will come through. So one is putting the brakes from the vehicle going backwards down the slope, the other one is trying to put some gear and force so that it goes up, so to say. So among them, ahimsa, non-violence, is the first one. Then we had listed them out: ahimsa, satya, truthfulness, asteya, non-stealing, brahmacharya, chastity or control of our senses or mind, aparigraha, non-hoarding of things or non-receiving of gifts and things from other people because they affect our mind also. So these are the Yama. Niyama means saucha, purity of thought, word and deed, body, mind. Santosha, contentment with very minimum things that we require in this world. Be a minimalist, so to say, because if we give too many things, in a whole mind and time is engaged in looking after these type of things which we don't really need. Santosha. Tapa. Tapasya means a little bit of austerity. Austerity means controlling ourselves, the natural tendency of the mind and the senses to go outside. We put the horses back in, and when we do that, there will be some resistance, some friction, heat will be generated, so to say. That is fine. That development of that strength, mental strength by which we can restrain the outgoing tendencies of the mind and the senses, that is called tapa. Swadhyaya is the study of the scriptures, so that we can understand the gist of the essence of what the teachers have been telling, and also to study ourselves. Study of ourselves, that I am not the body or the mind, but behind something I am that infinite Atman. And Ishwar Pranidhana, that behind this whole universe, behind all of us, behind all the waves is that wonderful ocean of consciousness. That is the controller. That is the source from which we have come, into which we will go. So whatever we do in our thought, word and deeds, the power, the energy, the inspiration, the motive force comes from that source. We are only instruments in the hands of that operator, so to say. We are puppets in the hands of some divine power that pulls the strings, so to say. So this body mind is to be an instrument, and the operator is the divine consciousness, which is called Ishvara. So whatever happens, what is the result of any activity, whether we are doing some charity work out there or doing meditation there, at the end of that work, we offer the result of that activity to the divine, because that divine is really the rightful doer of things. So the credit must go to him. So the fruits of actions are offered and surrendered to the divine being. We live in the spirit of that surrender and in its constant presence. That's called Ishwar Pranidhana all the time. Coming back to this ahimsa. Ahimsa paramo dharma, I said. It's the supreme duty, righteousness, the highest. Ahimsa paramam tapa, it's the highest form of tapasya also. In the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna in chapter 13 introduces this idea of this Ishvara who dwells in the heart of all beings. The idea of oneness that we have been discussing on our Sunday classes. That behind the many, there is that one. How do we not only intellectually understand that idea, but put that into practice? Otherwise, it's just some good thought in our head. It has to become practical. So, ahimsa, the practice of the virtue of ahimsa, is going to be an application of that idea of oneness behind the many. So, samam sarveshu bhuteshu tishthantam parameshwaram. Samam, equally, not more in one and less in other. Sarveshu bhuteshu. Sarvam means all. Bhuteshu, all living beings. That means in all the waves, behind all the waves, tishthantam parameshwaram, param ishvara, the supreme ocean, the ocean of consciousness, is the foundation behind all the waves. That ocean of consciousness called Ishvara or Brahman or the divine or God or Father in heaven is the consciousness that is behind all these forms of humans, plants, animals and everything. Vinashyastu avinashyantam yapashyati sapashyati. Yapashyati means he sees, who sees? That means not everyone is seeing properly, completely. Only one who can see the one behind the many is the real seer. The others have got some glasses which cuts off the light, tinted glasses, shady glass, so to say. Vinashyastu avinashyantam. That means vinashyastu, those things which are perishable, which will be destroyed. Behind this, there is something avinashyantam, which is imperishable, indestructible, immortal. So what is perishable? This body is perishable, constantly changing, part of this world. Jagat, Jagat means which is always changing. The mind is changing, we are familiar with that. The sense of I also comes and goes, but behind this whole wave, in these three layers, the causal body, the subtle body and the gross body, behind the three bodies is the bodiless consciousness. That is called the Ishvara. And the real seer is one who is aware and experiences that one consciousness behind all these forms. A part of his mind is alert to that idea. When the physical eye sees a person, he sees a male or a female, a brown or black or white or old or young. It sees all types of forms that are there. But because now that person has become enlightened with this idea of Vedantic truth, of oneness behind the many, he says, what I am seeing is only some external forms, but behind that external form is something so profound and beautiful. It is one behind the many. And thus, samam sarveshu bhuteshu tishthantam parameshwaram vinashyastu avinashyantam yapashyati sapashyati. The next verse is, samam pashyan hi sarvatra samavasthitam ishwaram. Therefore, what I should do? I should see that one behind the many, the Ishvara behind the many. Don't be deceived by the external names and forms. Have that penetrating insight that sees beyond the externals, beyond the human facade, the mask, that there is something else, that cosmic power that is there. That is the real seeing. Okay. Then, samam pashyan hi sarvatra samavasthitam Ishwaram na hinastya atmana atmanam tato yati param gatim. Param gatim, gati means the destination, the goal, which is the spiritual goal of having that spiritual experience. Param gatim, supreme goal, not temporary goals that we have set in our. So, tato yati means such a person attains or reaches that goal or has that spiritual experience. What is that? Na hinasti atmana atmanam. Such a person who sees himself in all beings and all beings in himself does not do any injury to himself present in other beings. So we are not really injuring others, but we are injuring ourselves present in others. That is a more enlightened state way of looking, because I verily am present in all. I am not only a little bit of water in this wave, the same water is present in other wave. Actually, it is present in all waves. I am present in all beings and all beings are present in me. That is the state of God realization and self-realization. In God realization, when you have that realization, because God is present in all beings. When I become one with Him, I find that I am also present in all beings and all beings are present in me, just like in my body are these thousands and billions and millions of cells are there, but they are all part of me. So when I say I mean they are all part of me. So when the divine says I, he says he feels that the all beings in this physical world, in the mental world, in the heavens and all the locusts, all are part of him. That infinite sense of experience which is limitless is the experience of Brahman. Brahman means that which is vast, limitless, infinite. So what we have to do is get out of this little shell of this little embodied imprisoned being and expand ourselves. And expand ourselves so that we can embrace the whole universe as part of me. That is the method of self-realization. Expansion is life, contraction is death. So the more unselfish we are, the more our sense of kindness and compassion and charity expands beyond our own personal self, beyond our little family, beyond our community, beyond our country, to embrace this whole of humanity, all beings, because that is the truth. Then we are going towards God. But on the other hand, if it is becoming more and more limited to my country, my community, my state, my family, myself, this selfishness is the opposite of godliness. So Swamiji says unselfishness is God. Now you can understand. The more we practice that unselfishness, the more our heart expands and embraces everything, the more we approach that state which is called God realization or self-realization. Wonderful, nice thoughts. How does this translate into your everyday life? Do you feel that oneness with others? Do you feel that kindness and sympathy with your neighbor who is an elderly person, or somebody is hungry, or somebody is sick, that makes you stand up and go out and do something because you are not helping him, you are serving yourself in that form? That would be the Advaita Vedanta way of looking at it. I am present in all beings. Let me assert that oneness by actually doing something that proves that this idea of oneness that I like so much is a living ideal to me, a practical idea to me. So that's why we practice charity. That's why we practice non-violence. So this is the philosophy part of it. Not harming yourself, present in all forms. I alone dwell in all beings. That's the idea behind it. So it's all nice when things are good, you can hold on to this idea, it feels so nice, but then a situation will come where something can draw you into anger. That anger could be due to your frustration because you wanted to achieve some goal and somebody has come in front of you, is blocking the way, so your reaction to that situation is you become angry with that person, you want him to move out and you to have your way to achieve whatever you want. Most of the time it will be some worldly thing that we want. So the anger is our reaction, and if it's not controlled, it can go and translate into violence. You harm somebody. It could be a physical type of violence. You might hit somebody. The impact of that lasts for a few seconds, maybe then pain goes away. But it could be a violence that could be done through speech. You have said something which was very harsh, and when that words hit that person, the amount of pain and that was the reaction is more painful than the physical thing. And not only that, every time that person thinks of that, remembers that, he feels that pain again. You see what is the power of words. Sometimes we do not realize how powerful our words are there, and we can use it for the good by being nice and kind and saying something nice, and you suddenly feel the other person feels so happy and joy. Some word went out of you, but behind that word was a power. The word was that power was embodied in that word, which is the vehicle. And when that person received it, he received that force that went through you, and it uplifted that person. Or it can bring him down. It can do injury to him. That means I have hurt myself in that particular form. So, thought, word, or deed also. So it has to be practiced, ahimsa has to be practiced in thought, word and deed. That mental alertness has to be there. If this alertness is not there, then we will slip and we will do something wrong and we will feel bad about ourselves and go and say sorry to the other person. But that apologizing and all that does not remove the pain that has been caused. We have to prevent ourselves from getting into it. So how do we do that? So Maharishi Patanjali in the Yoga Sutra says, keep this in mind, he says. Pratipaksha bhavana. Understand the consequences of your action. Thoughts, words and deeds from a spiritual point of view. That means you have to be spiritually very, very alert and sensitive. Your eyes should be open and seeing things. If somebody throws some sand into you, immediately your eyes will close and protect yourself. Just like that, we have to be spiritually very sensitive to things around us. Then we will be alert, and in that alertness we will be able to protect ourselves. So what he says is that, look, when this tendency to practice himsa, violence, tell lies, all this, the don'ts are there, when we are, because of our ignorance or weakness that comes, how do we restrain and check yourself? By reminding ourselves of the consequences of these actions. So, these harmful thoughts, vitarka, for example, himsa and telling lies or being untruthful. When that thought comes, remind yourself of the consequences. And what are the consequences like? It says that these things will perpetuate our embodied limited state as this human being, deprived of our full glory of our Atman nature, the infinite bliss we can't experience, the infinite knowledge we can't experience, the infinite existence somehow that we have lost, we think we are going to die, that beauty and purity, all that has been covered up. And these type of actions will make that even worse. Ananta dukkha ajnana phalam. Anant means infinite, endless. Dukkha means suffering. Ajnana means ignorance. Phalam, this is the result. So what are you doing? It's not that if you do something wrong and if somebody catches you and punishes you that you will be punished. No, every thought, word and deed either liberates you or imprisons you. We are the creators of our own destiny. And we have to take that responsibility on our own shoulders. So how does it work? It says, the consequences of these things can be threefold. Krita, karita, anumodita. Krita means I do it myself. Karit, I get somebody else to do it for me. Anumodita, somebody has done, but I endorse it. He deserved it. He did the right thing. You know, that type of thought in your own mind. You are not physically involved. So Krit means you did injury to somebody personally. Karit, you didn't do it, but you got it done through somebody. You are the boss. You got some of your staff workers or somebody to do something like that. Anumodita, something bad happened, caused some pain to others, and you thought that that person deserved it. Or you are indignant. You know, I did the right thing because that person had done something to me and he deserved that type of thing. There is something called like righteous indignation in the spiritual life. So, krita, karita, anumodita. Mridu, madhya, adhimatra. Mridu means it could be very slight. Madhya means moderate. Adhimatra, it could be extreme. All of them will have consequences. Lobha, krodha, moha, purvaka. Lobha means it could be done out of greed. Krodha out of anger. Moha out of delusion, confusion, not understanding things. Purvaka. So, you see how complicated it is. Some desire is there, some greed is there, or some anger is there, or some delusion is there. It could be very slight. And you might say it's not so important. You do something and you say this is a white lie, or we need to do this in business anyway, otherwise we will not survive. All this type of justifications people will give. No, understand that the consequences will be there, even if it is slight, even if it's mediocre, moderate, or it is mild. It could be done by me by somebody else or endorsed by me. What is the result? Infinite suffering, misery, ananta dukkha ajnana phalam. That means, while doing harm to others, we have done more harm to ourselves. And if we are alert to that idea, that will be a great restraining factor, because no one wants to do self-harm. So, spiritual life means being this vigilant. Alertness to every thought, word and deed. And that's possible when this buddhi factor inside us wakes up and he's watching what is happening. This anger that's rising from the bottom of my mind somewhere. And I'm going to get angry. In that anger, I will do something which I will not probably like and feel bad about it. How do I nip that in the bud itself? By saying, while I might get some temporary gain in this world, material gain, but spiritually I am going to do more harm to myself. So when this type of alertness comes, because you have understood that harming others is self-harming, and this is not spiritually conducive to my spiritual growth, which means experiencing of that oneness behind the many. Because on one side, through spiritual discipline, I am trying to dive deep beyond all the names and forms to that experience of that oneness. But by practicing himsa and untruthfulness, I am going in the opposite direction by reinforcing myself as being separate from others, because I will do harm to somebody only I think that person is separate from me, isn't it? So, which way I am going? We are claiming that we want to go towards east, but then we are going towards west. So, the path of dharma says how we go deeper and deeper into our spiritual being. Adharma here would be himsa and telling lies, asatya and all those things which will take us away. Being alert to the consequence of our actions in thought, word and deed is the requirement to prevent us from slipping or doing something which will be spiritually harmful to us. Now we have to think about this idea, Shravan, listen to it, Manan, digest this, chew the cud, Nididhyasan, make it so strong that this firewall is there, protective wall of knowledge is there. As soon as a temptation or situation comes where you have the tendency because of past habit or some situation is there that you will go in this path, you will put the brakes and say, no, I will put up with little bit of personal discomfort and suffering and all those type of things, but not at the cost of my spiritual welfare. Okay, I will not lose my soul to gain something from this world. That type of spiritual strength will come. And you will find that when you are able to do this, you will feel another type of strength and joy that comes from within you. That is the Atman waking, because through that action, you have removed a slight layer, and the light of joy and goodness about yourself will feel from within yourself. And that is how we empower ourselves, by taking full responsibility of our thoughts, words and deeds in an enlightened way. So I've discussed about ahimsa. Next week we'll talk about truthfulness, satya. Why Sri Ramakrishna has said that in this age, Kali Yuga, truthfulness is the tapasya in Kali Yuga. And if we are not mindful of the consequences and engage in things which are untruthful, how we punish ourselves by going into greater darkness of ignorance and therefore cutting ourselves from that eternal infinite source of knowledge and bliss that is within us. That means we are the responsible for our self-imprisonment. So think about this, strengthen this idea, infuse your energy and vitality so that this ideal of ahimsa and satya becomes living ideas and they become the torchlights and the guiding lights in the spiritual life. Until then, keep safe and we will meet next Saturday. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityor Ma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna